The next debate was scheduled for New Hampshire. It has now been canceled by CNN after Nikki Haley says she will not debate unless Donald Trump is there. I find it funny because many of these Republican candidates were criticizing Donald Trump for not wanting to debate, and now they're basically taking the exact same position. Third place Nikki Haley thinks she is deserving of being on the stage with Donald Trump. Laughable. Okay, Ron DeSantis is not going to win. Nikki Haley is not going to win. Vivek Ramaswamy already figured it out, dropped out, endorsed Donald Trump. And so here we are, wasting our time. It is being speculated that Nikki Haley will drop out before the South Carolina primary because she is polling so miserably. Perhaps the real game being played is maximize the money-making venture you have in politics, get as many Democrats as possible, this one's funny, to switch their party affiliation, and then it all comes crumbling down, and congratulations, you've had some kind of impact. You know, I know that we've made the argument that Nikki Haley is the establishment play. I think she is. It just doesn't mean that it's going to be a successful play. In fact, she's probably going to lose. More data's coming in. It's looking really bad for Nikki Haley. It's looking really bad for Ron DeSantis. And Ron has just lost some of his most ardent supporters. A former spokesperson for Never Back Down said it is time to unify behind Donald Trump. Ben Shapiro has come out and said there is no logical map for Ron DeSantis at this point. But my friends, we mustn't just criticize Ron DeSantis because I will say it. I will say it strongly and fiercely. I will never call for Ron DeSantis to drop out of this race. I don't know, maybe starting now, as long as Nikki Haley is in there. And so, you know, since Vivek came on the show last week and he said the play here is Donald Trump gets stopped by the deep state somehow. They'll do anything. And then your options are going to be Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis. So he's going to stay in the race. Well, he dropped out. Now we're all a little worried because what if something does happen to Donald Trump? Nikki Haley is then. Ugh. So I'm like this. Look, Ron is in second place. There's a lot wrong with the guy in terms of charisma, leadership, capabilities. But he is infinitely better than Nikki Haley. And Donald Trump is infinitely better than Ron DeSantis, but I will take what I can get. And for everybody saying, I see these prominent individuals saying it is time for Ron to drop out and get behind, and for us to get behind Trump, which implies Ron should endorse Donald Trump. It's going to be funny when he does and everyone starts cheering for him. But why call for Ron DeSantis to drop out when Nikki Haley is still sitting right there? And we're all really worried about that. Well, here's where we're currently at, my friends. The shift is upon us. I love this story. Washington Post, CNN cancels debate. Haley declines invitation. Ron DeSantis is apparently the only one who's actually willing to debate. And he's in second place. CNN will no longer host a Republican primary debate in New Hampshire because just one qualified candidate, Ron DeSantis, accepted the network's invitation. We will continue to pursue other opportunities as the campaign season progresses through 2024, a CNN spokesperson said Wednesday in an email to the Washington Post about the debate's cancellation. The debate was scheduled to be held at New England College on Sunday, 2 days before the January 23rd New Hampshire primary. While former President Donald Trump, the primary's frontrunner since the race kicked off, has declined to participate. Why would he? Why would a guy who's leading the polls by like 40% debate? Debates are for when you're within a few points and you want to knock your opponent down a peg or two, gain some traction. Trump's running effectively as an incumbent. Nobody's going to vote against the guy. I mean, like some people will, but let's be honest, he's not going to lose this one. But I do love where we're currently at, my friends. Ramaswamy calls for DeSantis, Haley to drop out and endorse Trump. A bold move, the correct move, and I appreciate Vivek here saying that they should drop out. I don't like the people saying it's time for Ron to drop out. No. It's time for them both to drop out. Vivek is correct. And if Nikki doesn't drop out, I don't want Ron to drop out. Well, let's be honest. They both need to drop out. This money needs to be put behind Donald Trump so that he can run an effective race against Joe Biden. And we don't got to worry about any deep state plays within the GOP primary like they could with Nikki Haley. That's the fear, that Nikki Haley is the real Democrat play. They know they're not going to win a general. They know they can't. Look, you think about this. Everyone's brought these problems up to us. They said, how do they get rid of Joe Biden? Because it ain't going to be Joe Biden. I say, it can't be, right? Yeah, but what about Kamala Harris? And I'm like, here's my pitch. Here's my deep state strategy plan as to what I think they would consider. Or the best play they could make is Joe Biden's giving a speech. Hey, I'm campaigning. Vote for me. Oh, egad, my heart. And he falls down. Gavin Newsom runs out on stage in slow motion, throwing his suit jacket off, rolling up his sleeves, getting down and doing chest compressions on an ailing Joe Biden, saving his life. Joe Biden says, I have suffered a serious heart incident and, am incapacitated. Kamala Harris then says, I'm going to take up the role of acting president and do my duty because duty is the good thing you do when it's your duty. And everyone's like, yay. And the Democrats are clapping. And then they ask, but Joe, you can't run now. What do you do? And Kamala Harris says, well, I think it would be wrong for me to ignore my responsibilities as acting president by running a campaign for president in this short amount of time. Therefore, after this, I will not seek the presidency. She's offered some other job. Gavin Newsom then steps up and says, well, gosh darn it. If no one can do it, I'll do it. And then he gets the press tour as the guy who saved the president, and that's tremendous for them. That was my play. It's complicated, it's convoluted, and I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying that's like a real clear path as to how it could possibly happen. Because the big issue is, even if Joe Biden is impeached, convicted, removed, or like if aliens abduct him, I don't care, whatever. However, Biden is no longer running. Kamala Harris is standing right there. Well, here's the play. Nikki Haley. Now you don't need to do anything. Kamala Harris can stand where she is. Biden can do his thing. And when Biden loses resoundingly, Nikki Haley handily wins. That's why I don't want DeSantis to drop out if Haley's still in the race. Because I'd rather have DeSantis than Haley. I'd rather not have either, to be completely honest. But man, here's where we're currently at. It's remarkable. Johnny Maga and X says, Clay Travis, Ben Shapiro, Laura Ingraham, Steve Cortez, Tommy Loren have all called on DeSantis to drop out of the race and get behind Trump. Ron is done. Some of his biggest supporters, the Daily Wire guys, were in the bag for DeSantis the whole way through. Maybe not all of them. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they were very defensive. I mean, I was sitting with these guys in their backstage event a year and a half ago, and we were saying, like, it looks like Ron's the guy, not Trump. Trump's out. We don't know what he's doing. And then, of course, Ron, turns out he did not know what he was doing. So here we are. Now, you've got some of the most prominent supporters of Ron DeSantis saying, it's over. Take a look at this from Steve Cortez. It's time to unite and coalesce behind Donald John Trump. Failure in November would result in an America that's unrecognizable. The path to restoration will be led by President Trump. My new article. Well, let's pull up that new article. Steve Cortez. He used to be the spokesperson for Never Back Down. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Am I wrong about that? Only Trump can save America. He says, I believe that Republican voters were ready for a new post-Trump chapter of the America First movement. I now believe I was wrong. Those of us who backed Ron DeSantis or the other Republican candidates should read the room. Former President Trump winnowed the field effortlessly and then crushed the remaining three candidates in Iowa. Well, it was four. Asa Hutchinson was apparently still running. Yikes. He leads in the polls everywhere else. It is time to coalesce and unite behind the clear preference of the GOP grassroots, Donald John Trump. We do not have the luxury of further internal strife and instead must grid for an epic battle this autumn against our opponents who are inflicting daily damage upon America. Any further time, capital, and effort spent attacking the frontrunner, especially with Democratic Party-like talking points, only dilutes the power of our cause as we head toward November. Why do these patriotic voters rally so overwhelmingly to Trump? Clearly, they admire the resilience of this outsider who is so reviled by the ruling class that has nothing but contempt for everyday Americans. Voters still see in Trump a fighter and champion for the forgotten and ill-used citizens of the United States. They certainly do. And now they see him as more than a Molotov cocktail. That was the famous Michael Moore speech. The human Molotov cocktail thrown into the machine. Yeah, now he's a bulldozer. Now they're hoping for divine retribution in Donald Trump. We confront a perilous moment in U.S. history. Our country suffers from sky-high violent crime, the ravages of an effectively open border, a subversive educational system, and the anxiety of an economy that punishes workers, all brought about deliberately by Joe Biden and his allies. At such a flashpoint in history like this one, political unity among conservatives is an imperative. A second Biden term would risk the permanent loss of our republic as we know it. Moreover, The very plausible scenario of Vice President Kamala Harris taking over for a weekend Biden makes this already troubling outcomes even more bleak. Notice, our republic, he said. That's right, it is our republic. It is your republic. What do the Democrats say? They say our democracy. Democracy sucks. It was bad. It will always be bad. And we're not fans of democracy. They're trying to gaslight you by saying democracy is a good thing. No, democracy was always a bad thing. Hierarchy is not a bad thing. Absolute authoritarian hierarchy, a bad thing. Okay. But meritocratic hierarchy is a great thing. The guy who can run the fastest, we have him do the running. And guess what? He gets sent to the Olympics. We don't decide that we're going to democratically vote on who should go, and then you all argue. No, the guy with the record time goes. That is how our republic operates. Now, we do have democratically elected representatives, for sure. And that requires a pitch and sales. And so there is a partial democratic process within the system. But we are not a democracy. Democracy would imply the citizens just vote directly on things. And boy, would that be stupid, because I've seen it happen. If we were a democracy, it would be like, all right, we got two guys here. One guy is a plumber of 40 years, and the other guy is a snake oil salesman. Who should fix the toilets? Vote. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. And now, the issue here is that's still effectively what we have. You see what I'm describing? The issue in a direct democracy would be the policy that we put in place. Instead of saying something like, who would it be? Because we actually have that problem now. It would be something like, which policy plan do you propose? And therein lies the challenge we face in our constitutional republic with democratically elected representatives. The very problem of democracy, as I explained, is actually one we still already face. Well, my point here is this. In a democracy, you don't even have the protection of hoping the plumber can outbid the snake oil salesman. Here's what we see. In our system, you actually have the plumber and the snake oil salesman, and they make their pitch because we have a choice in who represents us. And it's supposed to be that the average person says, I got to go with the plumber. You know what I mean? He's got the experience. The other guy loses. The other guy could lie and stuff. Imagine this. Both the plumber and the snake oil salesman pitch a policy, a bill, a legislation. You know, Ian talks about this like we should have the people. No, we shouldn't do this. And then what happens is it's not so clearly cut, clearly defined. In a democracy, the people would just vote yay or nay on installing new U-pipe, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe it doesn't work because the average person doesn't really know. There is a wisdom of the crowd. I can fully respect that. But the idea of a republic is that the smaller states are protected. The system was built rather beautifully to protect, say, Rhode Island from California. Or more importantly, the small communities in bigger states even. The idea that we would take water from, this actually happens in California. Anyway, trying to clarify what I mean. We have the problems of democracy existing within our republic. Imagine how much worse they would be if everything was directly voted on. There you go. I hope I made my point clear enough because I think I kind of botched that one. But you get the point. It's bad enough that you can have bad reps lie to you. Imagine if the average person had to try and figure out the law for themselves and then everyone had to vote on it. It would just be nuts. So we have a system in which all the states are protected. There's different jurisdictions. And that means that if you're somebody who likes living in Nolans, you can go live in Nolans. And if you want to be pro-life, you can go live in a pro-life state. Benefits. Regarding the border disaster, December marked a new monthly all-time high for migrants crossing into our homeland, over 300,000 of them. This lawless chaos extends far beyond incompetent mismanagement and instead represents a purposeful move to effectively vaporize the border and the idea of an American national sovereignty. And that is correct. But I want to stop here. Well, Steve Cortez is saying that the elites despise the working class. So is Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders tweets, Donald Trump is the leading Republican candidate for president once again. Why? Because working class Americans are looking around and asking, who cares about us? If Democrats hope to win this November, they must stand with working people and fight for an aggressive, progressive agenda. Nothing less than the future of our democracy is at stake. And therein lies the point. Our democracy. So let me try and clarify and break this down once again. The difference between our republic and our democracy. In both instances, the way they're described, an individual is chosen to run the show. In our democracy system, they don't believe that Illinois and Indiana are different places with different people and different backgrounds. They believe it's all just one thing, and you should all do as you're told. A democracy is more like California. I'll break it down for you. I went and covered the drought in California. This was 10 years ago. And nine or so years ago, the small towns in Tulare County had no water. That's democracy. You see, the big cities voted. Here's how it happens. The government says, who should get the water? You decide. Okay, well, the city has millions of people. It votes. We get the water. The small towns, they vote. They say, we get the water. Guess what? 300,000 people lose 2 million people. Democracy. So what happens in a system like this? If this persistent democracy the Democrats have built, if it persists, what happens is in a scenario like that, the 300,000 people take guns, stand around their water and say, we will die without this and you won't take it from us. The people in the city then vote once again to send an oppressive force to go and kill everybody and take their stuff. And you'll end up with fighting and conflict. Democracy. Ooh, it sounds so great, right? What about a republic? A republic protects the smaller jurisdictions in that you can't just vote to take these things away from people. It's not so simple. A republic has sovereign territories. The jurisdiction of the federal government can extend only so far within the states, and the states are protected in a variety of ways. And it's not perfect. There's great overlap. There are similarities. It's far from perfect. But Bernie Sanders gets it. The American people want Donald Trump because he cares about them. Well, let me say this. We're planning events. How about this one? Monday, we were supposed to have Vivek Ramaswamy on the show during the Iowa caucus. We reached out to everybody, and Vivek was the only one who agreed in terms of the candidates. And that's great. And they didn't show up. He did not show up because he lost. And then he conceded. We kind of saw that one coming. During the show, we're like, Vivek's supposed to be here. He's not showing up. We're seeing the results come in. We're like, yeah. They called the race for Trump, and Vivek was like, I'm out. We have an event planned for March. And we were talking with Vivek's team about whether he would like to be involved as well as many other presidential candidates, and it was looking really good. Problem. Vivek dropped out. And so the reality is, what can we really plan for in terms of events if they're all dropping out, and they're likely going to? Take a look at this from Sky News. Nikki Haley will gracefully drop out to avoid getting smoked by Donald Trump. Republican strategist John Jordan has predicted 2024 U.S. presidential candidate Nikki Haley will drop out of the primary race before South Carolina. Okay, here's the election calendar. New Hampshire is the 23rd, coming up in less than a week, or about a week. February 3rd, South Carolina is the Democratic primary. The 24th of February is the Republican primary in South Carolina. They're saying she's going to drop out within 1 month. Perhaps. It makes sense. Let me show you the polls here from 538. Who's ahead in South Carolina? Donald Trump has 52.3%. If Nikki Haley loses her own home state, it's going to be bad. The only reason she's still in is that in New Hampshire, the polls have her doing fairly well. But the reality here is she's not actually doing well. It's a Republican primary. It's supposed to be Republicans picking who their nominee is going to be. Instead, it is Democrats switching party, or if it's an open primary state, voting in the Republican primary to sabotage Donald Trump. From WBUR, independents and Democrats could help Haley catch Trump in the New Hampshire primary. And there it is. You see, we're headed towards this system. It's not supposed to be this way, but that's the way it is. Mary Mulroy is just the kind of voter Nikki Haley is counting on for a chance to beat Donald Trump in the New Hampshire primary. The 74-year-old Manchester resident usually votes Democratic and supported Joe Biden. The primary goal is to not ever let Trump back into office again. And there is the game they are playing. Nikki Haley should drop out. The moment this became clear that she is being used as a weapon against the Republican Party, she should have dropped out. She won't. Poll, NBC News. Nearly half of Nikki Haley's Iowa backers say they'd vote for Biden over Trump. That's right. The Iowa poll finds most likely GOP caucus goers would vote for Trump in the 2024 general, but not Nikki Haley. Why? Because she is Hillary Clinton. A vote for Nikki Haley is a vote for Hillary Clinton. They're calling her Dem light. Sure, she said some things that Republicans may like in terms of conservative values, but she does a segment where she's like, don't call illegal immigrants criminals. Okay, I'll call them criminal immigrants. How's that one for you? They are. You break the law. You enter the country. Yeah, criminal alien is probably better. Because immigrant implies legal process. Like someone who immigrates here, you see the games they play? Nah, criminal alien. There you go. Someone who is not from this country, who has entered it illegally, has committed a crime, and they are an alien. They are a criminal alien. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Nikki Haley's a Democrat. She should drop out. She may. For the time being, Donald Trump is ahead. He's going to stay ahead. CNN's canceling their debates. It's crumbling down around them. There is no reason to waste any money on any of these primary processes when the Republican Party could spend all of that money on helping Donald Trump beat Joe Biden. Or perhaps in March, if that JP Morgan strategist is correct, we end up with Newsom or Michelle Obama. You know, Michelle Obama recently came out and said her greatest fear could soon be realized. And maybe that is the primer to say to all of us, she is preparing to run. I have no idea what's going to happen. None. So we'll see. I'll leave it there. Next segment is coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.